Denny Hamlin explains why he ultimately decided to appeal his penalty, and Ross Chastain is going to drop a watermelon off a 250-foot tower. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. I hope your week's off to a great start. If you're new to the channel and you love stock car racing, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any upcoming content. Got some exciting things in the works. I'll be on the road quite a bit over the next month or two, visiting some historical sites, some modern racetracks, and everything in between. We've also got a new episode of Power Hour, my new podcast with Brennan Poole, dropping later this week. But today we've got some very interesting news to cover and some clips to react to from yesterday's race at Atlanta that I missed, that have surfaced since I posted my race recap video last night. For one, Erik Jones nabbed his first top 10 finish of the season. I didn't know where he came from in the final laps. I didn't see how Erik Jones cracked the top 10. I don't think he ran inside the top 10 really all day. Legacy Motor Club has kind of struggled to find speed to start this year. Going into Atlanta, neither Jones nor rookie Noah Gragson had finished inside the top 10 yet. Erik Jones broke that streak yesterday. Here's how he did it. This was his onboard camera on the final lap. I saw this being shared across social media. NASCAR eventually posted it themselves. Look at him just shoot the middle like he's playing Mario Kart and he just rolled triple mushrooms. Look at him go. I think he went from something like 18th place to 8th place in one lap, the final lap. What a way to get your first top 10, and the first top 10 for the newly rebranded Legacy Motor Club. I've been saying this. Erik Jones is an underrated super speedway racer. I've been saying that for a long time, and he continues to prove me right with moments like this. Wow. That wasn't the only clip that went viral after yesterday's Atlanta race. We've got to talk about this one because I have a lot of questions. For one, why is there a camera operator following Brad Keselowski to the porta potty after the checkered flag? Brad Keselowski parks his car on pit road, gets out, and as you can see pretty quickly, he hurries over to a porta potty. Hey, I've been there. I'm terrible on road trips. I get it. I get they usually have a camera on some of the top finishers when they first get out of the car in case they go over and confront another driver. Maybe there's some bad blood, some beef that was brewing during the race. But this camera stays on Brad Keselowski, waiting for the driver of the 6 to re-emerge. This is where things get really goofy. Denny Hamlin enters the picture, and I'm sorry, this clip was everywhere last night. You gotta turn the handle, Brad, from green to red. You gotta lock that. Well, Denny Hamlin had some fun with it on Twitter afterwards, tweeting, "Smelled like Hawaiian rolls when I got in there." Oh man, a reference to Brad Keselowski's King's Hawaiian sponsorship. Glad they could have some fun with it. I mean, it's just goofy, it's just silly, but I saw everyone joking and talking about it. I feel like on that note, we've tied up all the loose ends from Atlanta. We can start to look ahead. We can start to move on. In fact, yeah, let's look ahead to Circuit of the Americas this coming weekend. Austin, Texas. I'll be there. I'm excited. 2 former F1 champs, Kimi Räikkönen, Jenson Button, are on the entry list. Jordan Taylor, an IMSA champion, sports car superstar, will fill in for Chase Elliott. Jimmy Johnson will make his second start of the year. Last year's race ended with Ross Chastain knocking AJ Allmendinger and Alex Bowman out of the way to get his first career win. It's going to be tough for this year's race to top that, but the entry list is certainly trying, and apparently Ross Chastain is going to start this weekend with a literal bang. Reportedly, Ross Chastain is going to commemorate the anniversary of his first career cup win this weekend by dropping a watermelon off the 251-foot tall observation tower at COTA. That's pretty hardcore. Oh, I love this reply. Guess it's a good thing Carl Edwards didn't have a chance to get his first win at COTA. Replies like that make me wish I was actually funny. I've been on top of that tower. It's up there. It's a long way down. I can't wait to see the mess that Ross Chastain and his watermelon leave there in turns. What turns it was, like 16 and 17? Something like that. I don't know. This is cool, harmless. I mean, not for the watermelon. Fun spectacle. I'm all for it. I hope they have lots of good high-definition slow-mo cameras honed in on the impact site. I wonder if they're going for some sort of world record, you know, something weird. All right, I know this has been a pretty silly episode so far, but now it's time to get serious. Last week, NASCAR docked Denny Hamlin 25 points and fined him $50,000 for admitting he wrecked Ross Chastain intentionally at the end of last week's Phoenix race. After much consideration, I've decided that I will appeal the decision by NASCAR to penalize me. What happened on Sunday was common hard racing that happens each and every weekend. There was also no manipulation of the race nor actions detrimental to the sport. At the racetrack, Denny Hamlin was tight-lipped all weekend when talking to reporters. Anytime Denny was asked a hard question, he would just respond with, "I've got nothing to say," or he'd plug one of his sponsors. Some funny clips, but nothing really of substance. Denny Hamlin then went on his podcast today, Monday, and once again refused to go into exactly what his argument will be against NASCAR, why he believes he shouldn't have been penalized, but he did explain why he changed his mind. Here's a couple short clips from the latest episode of Actions Detrimental. The full show is down in the description below.
I initially was not going to appeal this because my owner, Joe Gibbs, who I love like family because we are family, called me and says, "Hey, I know, we just want to let this go. We just want to move on." And I was like, fine. So then I slept on it. I got the email from NASCAR of the things that they said I did. And I called Joe back and said, "Joe, I didn't do any of these things." At the end of it, they just said, we understand. If you want to appeal, then we support you.
Joe Gibbs wanting to move on from all this doesn't really surprise me. It's clear Denny Hamlin doesn't. Over the weekend, he tweeted that he would pay Josh Williams' fine. Denny is on a crusade against NASCAR. He wants to prove them wrong. He wants to prove himself and others right. He needs more content for his podcast, y'all. He knows what he's doing. One thing Denny did say on this podcast that I thought was very interesting is that he was surprised that something he said in the media on his podcast is what ultimately got him in trouble. In Denny Hamlin's defense, when I first reacted to Hamlin's initial comments, I didn't really think about a possible penalty. I was more focused on the on-track incident, the backstory between him and Ross Chastain. I didn't think about how NASCAR officials would view it and how retroactively a fine or points penalty could have been issued. So I can't entirely blame Denny Hamlin for not thinking about it in the moment because I wasn't really thinking about it in the moment. Hamlin said on his podcast today that he has tons of notes, tons of evidence that he believes will help back up his argument, but he's not going to share them with the public until after the appeal is heard. He did, however, still go on a short tangent on his podcast today.
How many times have we heard people say, "It's too damn confusing. I don't understand NASCAR"? I'm coming here on Monday to try to help with that. This is helping the sport.
If that's going to be Denny Hamlin's key argument, I don't think he's winning this appeal. If he just focuses on the literal definition of actions detrimental, then he's going to lose. But I don't think that will be Denny Hamlin's core argument. I do think he'll point to past examples of drivers not being penalized for clearly taking someone else out, holding a grudge, exacting revenge. I think his point will be that NASCAR historically does not get involved in these types of instances. Let's just look at recent history. 2021, Bristol. Chase Elliott, mad at Kevin Harvick, comes out on track, clearly blocks Harvick and helps his teammate Larson win the race instead. A couple weeks later at the Roval, Kevin Harvick pretty clearly wrecks Chase Elliott on purpose, but neither Elliott nor Harvick received any discipline from NASCAR. I just mentioned Coda last year when Ross Chastain, he got bumped out of the way by Allmendinger, so he sent Allmendinger going into turn 19, took out Alex Bowman as well, an innocent bystander. Joey Logano at Darlington last year, he spun William Byron for the win in the final laps because he was upset with how Byron squeezed him into the wall a little earlier. No penalty, no penalty, no penalty. Historically, NASCAR only gets involved if they believe an incident was extraordinarily dangerous, see Bubba Wallace right-hooking Kyle Larson at Las Vegas last year, or if a driver admits to wrecking someone on purpose without worrying about their own finishing result. Like Joey Logano put William Byron in the wall at Darlington, but he did that so he could win the race. Denny Hamlin put Chastain in the wall at Phoenix because by his own admission, he figured he was going to finish in the back. He wanted Ross back there with him. At that point, Hamlin was not trying to get the best finishing result for his team. That is a difference between what Hamlin did to Chastain, what Logano did to Byron, even though Logano after the race basically said, yeah, I was mad at the way Byron raced me out of turn 2. The difference was Logano was trying to get the win. Hamlin didn't care if he finished last. He just wanted Ross Chastain with him. Those are the only two examples. If you do something really dangerous or if you wreck someone else and admit to it without any regard for your own team's finishing result, that's when NASCAR steps in with a penalty. And I'll say, while NASCAR is certainly not perfectly consistent, I do think Denny Hamlin put them in a very difficult spot. And I do believe, per their rulebook, some sort of penalty was justified. I would have gone with a lesser penalty than what NASCAR ultimately handed Denny. I would not have issued a 25-point penalty. That's just my opinion. I believe Denny Hamlin will win this appeal, not outright. Like, I don't think he's going to get the entire penalty rescinded, but much like what William Byron got last year when he appealed his disciplinary penalty, Byron was hit with a 25-point, $50,000 fine. The appeals panel, separate from NASCAR, rescinded the points penalty, 0 points, but then upped the fine to $100,000. I think Denny Hamlin's penalty will become a 0-point penalty, so I think he'll get those 25 points back. I think the $50,000 fine will stay the same or will go up slightly, maybe 75, maybe it goes up to 100, but I think that would be high. My guess is 50 to 75, no points penalty. That's what I believe the appeals panel will decide. That's just my opinion. Denny Hamlin did break the rules, but I think he will be able to argue that the penalty he received was a little too severe, considering he and Ross Chastain were racing for position late in the race. It's not like they were under caution in the case of William Byron last year, where safety of crew members and safety personnel might have been in question. I believe the penalty will be lessened, but I don't think it will be rescinded altogether. It still won't answer the larger officiating question. Should NASCAR step in and officiate accidental contact more strictly? Or should NASCAR be even more hands-off than they are now and allow the drivers to completely police themselves? Will NASCAR end up at one of those extremes, or will they continue to be kind of in the middle the way they are now? Kyle Busch had some pretty strong words about driver code this weekend at Atlanta. He said, quote, "We have completely lost any sense of respect in the garage between the drivers at all. That's where the problem lies. Nobody gives two bleeps about anybody else. It's just a problem where everybody takes advantage of everybody as much as they can. We're all selfish, granted, but there was an etiquette that once did live here. Mark Martin started it. Tony Stewart lived by it. I think Jeff Gordon lived by it. Bobby Labonte, Rusty Wallace for the most part. Dale Jarrett for sure. It did exist. That's gone." What do you think of those comments from Kyle Busch? Do you believe Denny Hamlin's penalty will be rescinded? Do you think it should be? Do you think NASCAR made the right call initially? Let me know down in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing your responses. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel once again and you love all things NASCAR, I hope you hit that subscribe button so you stay in the loop and keep up to date on all the new content we're producing. And thank you as always to my Patreon supporters for your continued support. I will see you again later this week. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday, folks.